UFC command in the sport
live.
world.
So PKN episode 152. We were just talking about McGregor and
on the show.
I was saying how like it's insane how no matter what news stories are out there, no matter like if there's an attack somewhere or whatever, if Mayweather and McGregor come up, it is immediately like the top story on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. And I was saying, like, I don't follow boxing or UFC nearly as much as these two, but it is pretty ridiculous that even compared to like basketball, NFL, aside from Super Bowl, like it just skyrockets in popularity. That every single story.
I think Conor's bigger than Mayweather. I think his like really? Sports name right now at this moment. I mean, you could talk about like legendary careers or wherever, like historical placement at this current moment. But as far as like names in sports, names to hit the media and get the most attention out of the average person, Conor owns an entire country. Like,
I think Kyle's right, because Mayweather was bigger when he fought, like the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I feel like is
and
bigger.
That was delayed by many years.
True, but there were two people on that card who were big, and it was, and like Kyle said, the buildup was for years and years. Conor McGregor could fight me, and it would be a big story. He doesn't need anyone on the B side to make it big. He changes bum lives, right? You know, when he fought Alvarez, I guess Alvarez was the champ, but you know, he didn't bring the audience. When
I've only heard of Alvarez because he got matched up with Conor McGregor. I only know who most of these people are because it'll be Conor McGregor. Is he going to fight X? Is he going to fight Y? It's like I have no idea who X and Y are.
I think that's true in the world of UFC because UFC is its own niche thing. But Mayweather's a big name. I think they're. Whether it's A or B side, I don't know. I think Conor's probably more A as far as like media attention, but Floyd may be more A as far as pay-per-view buys for this particular fight because his people think he's gonna beat this guy to death. It could go either way, but as far as like media attention, recognition, Conor McGregor's huge right now. He transcends all sports. And I think it's going to be a really fun fight to watch. I'm looking forward to it. So when are they doing the first press conference? That's this week in LA. That's the first one. Like, is it today, tomorrow? Yeah. It's very
right now. It says Conor McGregor brutally trolls Floyd Mayweather at presser before promising an early KO.
That's awesome.
All right, so we'll get to that. I don't want to spoil that. Don't spoil that anymore because I'm going to go watch that as soon as we're done with the show here.
Okay.
But like one thing that I know that leading up to this there was talk because Floyd usually shows up literally, not joking, an hour and a half late to his press conferences, right? Like he makes this dramatic entrance at the end. And Conor's been known to do the same shit. There's been a fight before where like his opponent's like, I'm just going to leave. Whenever my opponent shows up, you know, y'all can talk to him. And then Conor strolls in and like makes the guy sit down and stuff. So I really want to see this press conference and see how that went. Did you see that Floyd is in tax trouble? Not really trouble, but he's appealing to the IRS for an extension on his 2015 taxes, I think, until he gets this upcoming payday.
That ties into something I've been saying, that Floyd's not as rich as he says he is.
He spends $8 million a day, apparently.
That can't be true. That can't be true.
I know that's so much, but like
that's what he has to do.
I kept repeating this thing. Like when you schedule a second private plane to carry your luggage, you run out of money. Right? Will Smith was huge and ran out of money before Prince of Bel-Air. You know, he spent all that parents don't understand rap money. It was gone. He took his...
I didn't know that.
It's
you
true.
You got to keep in mind, he's in trouble with the IRS, though, right? Like, so he made like 200... Whatever he made in 2015, like $200 million, right?
The year he fought Pacquiao.
He probably owes $95 million in taxes or something like that off that. Something awful. And I bet he spent all $200 million on minks and like different Rolls Royces and like tiger food or something.
I have no facts. I just made up in my head he didn't pay all his taxes. I don't think he failed to file. I didn't hear that he did.
No, he's filing for an extension on the payment for his 2015 taxes. That the exact verbiage is like that he's got a big payday
revenue
coming up
or something.
Yeah, the revenue event.
No one said he didn't pay 2015 taxes. They're saying he got audited for 2015 as if he underpaid his taxes. Mm-hmm. So he maybe tried to get a little cute in 2015.
It sounded to me like he was making payments on
much
2015
money
taxes.
It seems like people with that much money who have that kind of income, like they're not sitting there with TurboTax like, oh, well, he can't read. But if he could, he wouldn't be sitting there with TurboTax going like, oh, I can write this off, I can write that off. Like I imagine those people go into one of the big four accounting firms, and then one of those accounting firms, it seems like they have a vested interest in like not fucking up. You know, like they don't want anybody coming and ruining their what is it, like Price Waterhouse or whatever the names of all of them are, like that's kind of true, right, Woody? Like it seems like these people who are that rich, like they're handing everything off to someone else, which is what I never understood about the tax like fraud at that level is like how do you think you're going to get away with it?
Well, they're what it is oftentimes the law's not defined enough. You know, like, oh, you have to pay taxes on U.S. income. Aha! Well, this tax came over the internet. So, you know, we didn't fight here. We didn't do this. Or, like, you know, they make it out to be not U.S. income. Like, that's a thing that happens a lot. This was actually Cayman Islands income.
Because he's probably not fighting every fight in the USA. And so he's...
Yeah, I don't know exactly. But what I'm saying is they often find a way to restructure it or try to get a little cute to make it so that it's, you know, to find a way to avoid taxes.
Well, his business is structured pretty interestingly anyway, because he's Mayweather Productions, right? Like, he's not just a fighter who gets paid to go fight people. He is the event promoter. He is the guy who's renting out the Staples Center or wherever this fight is going down. You know, like he's the guy. He cut all the middlemen out. That's the interesting thing about Floyd Mayweather is he didn't want to be another Mike Tyson who got robbed, blind, and then of course wasted the rest on tigers and planes.
But he might.
But we'll see. I think he's prepared himself better than Mike Tyson ever did. He's certainly in a much better position than that. He's not. I don't see tigers. I see cars, and like our last guest suggested, like those cars could be loners and stuff.
Yeah, and the minks could be loners on Connor's side and stuff. Yeah, you don't know. But I think Mayweather's spending a lot of money.
Are you guys both still on the? Like, I'm wondering if your opinions changed because I remember from earlier. I think Woody, you were saying that McGregor had a good chance overall.
Say that? Okay.
I that's what I'm trying to clarify because I don't remember if I'm just imposing that or what I thought.
It just depends a good chance of what though, right?
Like no, of winning. I'm talking about winning. Like
every expert says McGregor has no chance. He's a huge underdog. Okay. The thing is, there's not a lot of money to be made betting against Conor McGregor, right? The guy wins all the time, with the exception of the first Diaz fight. He always wins. He wins. And every time you go, you're like, well, Jose Aldo's been champ for 10 years. This guy's lethal. This guy kicks. Go on.
He always wins at UFC fights. It's not like you're like. It's not like you're following Conor McGregor around. He's like dude perfect. Like everywhere he goes, he's just sinking basketball shots. He's just rolling, diving,
flipping water bottles.
Like, just everyone's turning around.
It's like a perfect skee ball store.
Everything.
Handing tickets to
real
kids.
Good at beating people up within his particular discipline of expertise.
You do nothing. That's 4 100s in a row. You couldn't catch it. You got 3 balls left, Mayweather. You can't come back. You know? I bet he's like people like that have to be so frustrating to play little piddling games with because their mind is just so like competitive. I win. Like just playing someone like that in Magic the Gathering. Like when I was teaching Kyle to play Magic, when Kyle would beat me, like we were in Colorado, he knew that it wasn't because he, rused me into like a huge thing. It was because like, I'm teaching him how to play. If you were Conor McGregor, you'd have been like, "Oi, this fellow's teaching me the game. Already beat him. Anybody else here trying to teach me?" Like that. Like, I'm already past this level. No, I'm not playing you again. I'm 1-0. Give me your belt. Give me your belt. Give me your belt. I don't care if it's from Coles. Give it to me.
That's funny.
He doesn't buckle it. He ties in a knot.
I really hope but if Mayweather does win, if Mayweather wins, are all the experts predicting, oh, it's going to be a round 9 attrition victory, or are people saying there's going to be a knockout via Mayweather?
They think that Mayweather will do anything he chooses to do, and that somewhere in like the 3rd to 5th round, he knocked Conor out, and that's all he has left.
I want Conor's strategy this whole time to be to get punched in the top of the head and break Mayweather's hands by like round 5.
I saw that in a movie.
Right? Maybe Conor saw that same movie. Because that seems like his best course of action if he could make that happen by some fluke. So there's a lot of things against Floyd, right? I think that's where you got to start. Is like let's start counting things against Floyd before we start actually owning up to the fact that it seems like boxing is like mathematics or something, and that every additional hour to that 10,000 hours, you actually do get better. And Mayweather seems like he's this special kind of human being that's really mastered that thing. So it doesn't seem like Conor, who's an amateur in comparison, can step in there and beat him. But Floyd's much older. Floyd hasn't finished anyone in years. He hasn't had a professional fight in years. He hasn't looked great in his last fight. He's not dominating or anything. It's not like he destroyed Pacquiao. He has those brittle hands, and I didn't know about that until fairly recently. I guess it's probably not something he wants talked about a lot, but his hands break a lot. And what else, right? He's shorter. He's a smaller man.
Time between.
Yeah, what's the
fights.
reach like? That's a big thing in boxing.
I think Conor has the reach for sure. Conor's 5'9", but he has much longer arms than a 5'9".
He has the arms of like a 6 foot guy. Like he goes up 2 weight classes and says, "My arms are as long as that guy."
Yeah, I think me and Conor have about the same wingspan.
Yeah.
Conor's wingspan is 74 inches. Mayweather's reach is 72 inches.
He might
also,
have
height matters because like if your wingspan is the same, yet I'm punching down and you're punching up, I have the reach advantage. So not only
It says that
McGregor's.
It says McGregor's only an
can't
inch
reach
taller.
you.
Is that one of those athlete things where
I need to
Mayweather's
see-
like,
yeah,
"Oh
all those
yeah, I'm
numbers are
5'8",
lies.
and it's like, you're 5'6", buddy." Like,
Howard Stern used to do this thing. So Howard Stern, I think, is 6'5", but he's like a true 6'5". So he'd have these like 6'8" basketball players on, and he's like, 6'8"? Why are we the same height? And they're like, what? No, man. Like their contracts ride on this. Their reputation, like a lot matters on this fake height. They're very invested.
I got a signing bonus for that extra inch, you bastard. Shut the fuck up, Howard. Why are there cameras in here anyway? It's radio.
he really.
Where's
like,
Robin?
Howard Stern has a real Slenderman build about him. Like he's eerily lanky.
So if you don't know, if he gets any kind of flab on him at all, it looks really bad because of that lanky frame. He needs to be rocking almost a 6-pack to even look okay with that look. He has one a lot of the time. He's very slender. He's on a ridiculous diet where he's like, yeah, I had some a little brown rice, and then there was some steamed fish, and then I went to bed.
6-packs on skinny guys are like big tits on fat girls. It doesn't count.
It does count.
It does not count.
I disagree. I've heard that line many times, but I feel like a guy with a 6-pack. No, I'll admit, obviously, a strong guy with a 6-pack is in a whole nother league. But if you have a 6-pack, you need to be pretty skinny to not have a decent body. That geek, in every movie, who they like hooks up with the cool girl and they turn him into a cool guy. All he was like a skinny guy with a 6-pack. Suddenly you put him in a button-down shirt and fix his hair, and he's hot. You don't have to be too far away with this. If you've got a 6-pack, you're doing okay.
Like when I see a guy at a pool who has no arm or shoulder or back definition, but they have that like, I haven't eaten since Thursday belly. Like 2 more days of light eating, and they'll be going from 6-pack to emaciated Kenya belly. Like,
do you
that
remember
sort of
when Conor was calling
thing?
Nate Diaz skinny fat?
Yeah.
He does look a little skinny fat, but not the kind of skinny fat I would want to.
I'm gonna tear your skinny fat body apart, all long and lanky and disgusting. Like he's saying this, like they're on like CNN. He's talking about this guy's skinny fat body, and Nate too are there with a speech impediment, just like, let's just fight the fight, let's just fight the fight.
Conor at 170 said he didn't like it. He didn't have abs. If I could look like Conor at 170, I would do this show shirtless. You'd never see a shirt on me again.
At 145, he looks ferocious. Emaciated a little,
yeah,
but in a scary way. His eyes are all sunken in, and he's just like, and you're like, God damn, he looks scary.
Like a train spotting look.
Like
you don't know
very
what
emaciated.
I'm on the same page as Taylor with the way he described it. Hasn't eaten since Thursday. Too thin. Yeah. That guy does not have a good body. But I feel like there are a lot of things. If your biceps are bigger than your wrists and you have abs, you probably have a decent body. You got to be pretty thin to not have that.
If your
my own
biceps are the
diet.
size of your wrists, it's a problem.
I've been 202 was my Thursday weight. And I'm not sure. I'm still 202. I'm not sure I'm going to be 201 for Thursday. I'm hoping on PKA I can say I lost another pound. I've lost a pound or two almost every week. And this week, I don't know. It's Tuesday. Weigh the same thing as Thursday.
I ate a whole pecan pie this week, and it was everything that I thought it would be and more. Every slice I would microwave for about 15 seconds and then put a little dollop of vanilla ice cream on there. So I gained 1 pound. I'm at 171.6 pounds right now.
That is
and
so light.
I loved that pecan pie so much. It's just delicious. I got it off Amazon. It's pecan pie in a jar. If you like pecan pie, I strongly recommend it.
I was just surprised that you live in, pecan country in Georgia there, and you went the Amazon route.
Because I think they're like Georgia pecans, stuffed in a jar with like all the sugary goo and stuff. Like it's the whole pecan pie in a jar, and you just dump it in the pie crust, and then, well, I think you add eggs. Yeah, I added eggs, and you bake it. And
that's pretty low effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, precisely. I was gonna order on Amazon for Prime Day a candle making kit because I think that kind of stuff is fun.
Okay.
Kind of just
All
like make some candles. And then, like, as I was like gonna click and buy it, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're gonna start an Etsy store? What are you? Are you just gonna be some fucking maniac? You're gonna convert to, come up with excuses as people come over. Why do you have 60 candles going? Oh, I'm Wiccan now. Like,
hey, that could be the answer for the pig hunt, right? Like, hear me out here. We go and we shoot some pigs. We render the fat into tallow. We make our own wild boar soap. And there's like a silhouette of a wild boar with tusks on every bar, right? Done.
What do we call it?
Wild boar soap. I don't know. I mean, this is
all
and
we can try and sell it to Whole Foods,
clean as
or somewhere
a pig
like
in
that.
Mud.
It'll be all natural, 100% organic.
Like the bear boar, like BARE, because bear is a great word for people like in the Whole Foods market, because they're like, bear. That means there's like no preservatives in it, right? I don't know. It's $9.
There's a bullet in mine. There's a little bullet in it.
No, that's an exfoliating bead, you dumb whore.
Yeah, the copper, it wards off cancer. Yeah, you want that in there.
It's so much pork fat, it just puts your body instantly into a state of ketosis.
Yeah. I've been pretty good on diet. I've been very good on kettlebells, and I've been really active, but just haven't lost a pound this week. I don't know. Didn't gain.
I'm down I'm at 204 now, and I'm bummed out that I can't work out this week again because it's scarring up right now.
Right.
So like all the pieces are growing back together mostly.
You rub some vitamin E on there.
I'm rubbing I have some like Nivea lotion that you're supposed to like rub into it once it's 100% sealed up to get rid of scars. But I'm not really worried about that as much. I just don't want it to be one of those scar tissues that like pops all the time and you're just all dealing with that. But it's bumming me so much more than I thought. What do you say?
Mederma, MEDERMA for scars.
I've heard of that. I'm going to get some when it heals up.
Yeah, it works really well.
I'm so much more bummed out about not being able to work out than I thought I would be. Like I always, when people we're like, oh yeah, I when we were doing hockey workouts or something, someone's like, yeah, I kind of tweaked my ankle, like I can't work out this week. And it was always like, oh, lucky, like you don't have to go to training and do all this. Like now it's like, oh, god damn it, like I was on such a good click, a good pace with this, and now I missed 2 weeks, and I'm not ticking up my week calendar anymore because I'm not giving myself credit for not doing it.
I'm when I
excited.
was sick, it was like 2 weeks ago. I was sick. I missed 2 workouts, I think. But 2 workouts was a week, because I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I went from Monday to Monday, and I'm like, are you really sick? Are you faking sick? How sick are you? Can you do your kettle? Could you have done maybe half a workout? Huh? Could you have done that? And it took me a while to forgive myself. You're probably right. I don't know, but now
they say that stuff, and I don't know, right? But they talk about when your body's healing and stuff. Maybe it's not good for it. So it sounds like you're super motivated though. If you've got that where you feel that guilty if you don't get your workout in, you're in the zone then.
Yeah. I'm like it.
I didn't admit it broadly, but when I first started out, 5 push-ups was a thing for me. If I did 10, they weren't good form. And now I knock out 25 in good form. It might be time to add more. That's
you get fast so quickly.
Yeah,
same with pull-ups. Did you try a pull-up from the start and now try again?
I didn't.
Because that's a big difference. Because like you're gaining strength as you're losing weight, and so it's like you're doubling up on your strength difference. Even like 4 weeks later, you're like, holy shit, I can do 5 more now?
I was going to say just the 18 pounds different would help a lot. Like if I put in 18 pounds worth of chain around your waist, you would totally feel that. Like that'd be significant.
Like a wife.
But anyway, so I haven't lost a pound this week. I hope that sometime between now and Tuesday I weigh in a pound lighter and keep the streak alive. But we'll see.
I tried doing like a couple kettlebell swings and move around workouts on Friday just to be like, oh, it's probably not, or I guess it was Saturday, Like it wasn't like, oh, let's just see if this wasn't too bad. And like one of the movements, like I could tell that something was happening on my finger, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna rip the fucking pad of my thumb off. No, I'm not doing this. But
Jesus.
Oh, that sucks. Hey, I used to get excited about Trump news as this would be the seminal turning moment. I've let go of that. But it does look pretty interesting from a story standpoint. If I have my facts right, and I might not because I've been watching mostly liberal news sources today, the juicy ones.
The juicy ones.
Yeah, it appears that Trump Jr. got an email from a Russian. They had involvement with both the Russian government and Trump's business affairs, right? Like apparently she's related to this billionaire. This billionaire is a pop star. Trump was even in this pop star's music video. And so Trump may have known him through business affairs, but they also worked together with the Russian government. Anyway, the email essentially paraphrased said, hey, we've got this awesome dirt on Hillary Clinton. Why don't you come see? So Trump Jr., Manafort, what's the K guy's name? Kushner? The guy
Jared Kushner is the son-in-law.
Jared Kushner, that's who I'm going for. And another person whom I've forgotten met with this Russian person and to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. And then apparently I don't know what was said in the meeting, but they're saying that they didn't get any good dirt, so there's no story here. Which, but like now the question has been answered. Like, did the Trump campaign meet with Russian people to get dirt against Hillary Clinton? Yes, they did. Like when they heard that the Russians had information on Hillary, they said, "Let's meet." So
what I'm not liking from people right now is the whole pivot to like, oh, but it's not illegal. But it's not illegal. It's like, yeah, but like imagine the fury if right now, like if Hillary Clinton got voted in and it turned out you didn't just elect Hillary, you elected the whole Clinton clan. And fucking Chelsea was out there doing what Donald Trump Jr. is doing, and Bill's out there doing his stuff. It's like, no, you didn't, and people would have a right to be angry with that. So I totally see how people are upset with the whole Trump clan being involved in this, because it's like, no, nobody voted for Donald Trump Jr. Nobody voted for Eric Trump. I really don't hear about that guy, to be fair. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Nobody voted for Ivanka.
You did know Ivanka was going to be like having a role in the presidency, though, right?
I'm with Kyle on that one, because like when Taylor started, I was like, only if that wasn't the expectation from the start. Like when Clinton ran, Hillary had a decent role in his administration, but when Clinton ran, I know in '92 you guys weren't that old. He was like, hey, she is a strong woman. You get 2 presidents for the price of 1, right? He said that in his stump speeches.
That was understood.
Yeah, so it's understood.
I feel
that
like
changes
Trump
the game
does
to me.
nothing but like tout Ivanka's credentials and talk about how wonderful she is. Everything that comes out of his mouth is a positive about how good Ivanka is. And this whole I mean, he had her as a surrogate. He's had her, she's been doing radio interviews. She's been there the whole way. I knew going in that Ivanka was going to be part of the presidency in some way. I didn't know that like the whole clan was, and I didn't know about all the.
Okay, well then
seems like we're meeting a lot with the Russians.
I do get your point with Ivanka makes sense though, because that Hillary Clinton comparison is apt, because I guess of the 3 of those kids, it was clear she was going to be the one taking a role, if any of them. Mm-hmm. At least that was my impression. I did not foresee the 2 Trump boys, or I guess the 1 Trump boy, being a big part of this whole thing. Or Ivanka's husband. That's even more nepotistic. Is that a word?
Named Kushner.
I'll go with it.
I feel like, maybe I'm just thinking to like the days post his win, and I'm thinking about that time. But Kushner's definitely been up front a lot for a long time, right? He's put him in charge of Middle East peace. That one blew me away. But the guy's Jewish, though, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, they're not
I'm with you too, but I do. That's why I don't like
anti-Semitism.
Post-win. I feel like prior to the winning, Kushner was not up front at all, and I like there aren't a lot of people who paid more attention to the election than me. I was really into it, addicted nearly, and Kushner really started to me. Like I think he replaced Chris Christie in the transition to lead the transition team. Does that sound right?
Doesn't really, but no. Did you see Chris Christie today on the radio?
Not today.
I saw all those photoshops of him in this seat, and that's hilarious.
Good. It's good that you've seen those, because this bears upon that. Chris is doing this morning sports radio talk show, the radio show, And a caller calls in, one of his constituents. He says what area he's from, so Christie knows like what area of his constituency this guy hails from. And he goes, Governor, I just wanted to tell you that the next time you want to take your fat ass to the beach, maybe you don't do it on one that's been closed to the rest of the damn public. And Chris calls him a communist and a bum, and like goes on this whole rant against. He's like, yeah, you could tell that he's from like wherever the guy's from, like Bloomingdale, because he's a communist. Yeah, you bum. And he's coming on the radio cursing. He's like, cursing? What did I say? He said badass. You know, it was pretty funny.
He is one of the most tragic, in a very funny way, stories of the whole election, if you think about it, because the first guy who was like, I'm going to put my neck out there as an established politician for Donald Trump, Chris Christie, that big fat fuck. Hey, Chris Christie, I need you to stand behind me and just be fat behind me for a while. He does it.
Make me look thin.
Yeah, make me look. I need you to stand back there and
but
make
you're the
me
man.
look thin. You know, that's what he had him do. And then it seemed like overnight, just on a lark, like one day Trump was like, no, not this fat idiot. I got my attractive daughter. I got my normal looking. Yeah.
There was when he fired Chris Christie and sent him packing, there was this hint of like, wow, Donald Trump meant what he said. He's not going to put up with any of this bullshit, because what it looked like, and I mean, I guess what happened for all intents and purposes was Chris Christie put together a transition team, and Donald Trump said, oh, you got everybody together that you want? All right, you're all fired. All of you and all the people that you hand selected, you're gone. I'm going to get a new group in. It almost seemed like he really was playing a little 3D chess, and he was like, I'll let the swamp assemble the swamp people that they want. Then I'll rake them to the side, and then I'll know that I'm not getting any bad apples when we put my transition team together.
Wouldn't that be funny if like it came out in a memoir like 8 years from now, where Trump's like, so to get rid of the swamp, I had to find the slimiest creature in the whole fucking thing. And so I found Chris Christie, and I had to pick the best team. I knew every single person he would pick was awful. And I didn't tell him this ahead of time. I'm a very smart man. Ask him. I was president. You know, like, it's like, why'd you write this like you're talking? Like, it's very disjointed.
Chris Christie is America's least popular governor right now. That's like his thing.
He's only least popular because he's also the most popular, right? Like he's the most known. Like name 5 other governors, right? Like I can't.
Struggle. Yeah.
I don't know my governor, if I'm being 100% honest. I just don't. But I know Chris Christie, and I know a lot about him. When I went to North Carolina, to Hickory, North Carolina, that wonderful rally.
Yeah.
Christie was there, of course, at that thing. It was, and you're right. In comparison, Trump looks slender and young and powerful and like statuesque.
I've noticed I have harsher thoughts towards fat people now that I'm 18 pounds down. It's just
now
like,
you're starting to get it.
I have less sympathy
I weigh
for
170 pounds. Imagine the hatred.
I'm like fat people hating in my head. Like, fuck, just give up the carbs and the sugar, you weak-willed pansy. You weak-willed pansy, I mean to say. Like, I did it. You could do it. You're not doing it because you're weak. You know, body acceptance just means low standards.
I'm such a hypocrite with that. I'm so on your team where like I will eat a whole pizza on like a cheat day, and like 3 days later, after being good for 3 days, I'll see somebody else like ordering like a gross sandwich in front of me at Subway and be like, ugh, the fuck? It's a Wednesday. Care about yourself. Like, don't you know to just binge on the weekends like an adult? Don't you know that's when you get all your cheese and carbs? Like, but you're right. You go so quick.
Would cheating more help me? Like, because, all right, so I now know that I'm not doing keto strictly. It was sort of the basis of where I started, but mostly I'm just eating clean, and staying away from carbs and sugars like keto tells you to. But I had a fruit bowl the other day. Should I cheat more or less? Like, I'm like, no one gets fat eating pineapple, right?
Why?
No, nobody gets fat eating pineapple unless you eat an insane amount.
You know they have milkshakes in Hawaii.
It's pig and pineapple all day.
I think it's mainly the huge amount of sugary sauces that they're pasting their pork with.
Pineapple sauces.
That is saying you're not just rubbing pineapple juice on it. There's adding sugar and syrup and all of that. It's like pulled pork kind of stuff.
Mine was
no wonder they're fat.
Pineapple that came in pineapple, not a can. Like it should be healthy.
I mean, like it's like anything else. Don't be an idiot, and you have to be fucking dumb to get fat on fruit. Like it's you. I'm serious. You have to be a fucking moron, a full-on pants-on-head retard to get overweight on watermelon and pineapple. And first of all, you get 2 days into your fruitarian Steve Jobs, I'll just take the risk with cancer diet, and you're gonna be on the toilet 24/7 because you will have nothing but fructose and water and fiber running through your body as your body desperately tries to disassemble what little fat is left in your thighs to try and, make cells work. Like,
Steve Jobs may have got cancer, but that fucker was thin.
From the cancer! From the cancer!
Yeah, it worked. Clearly the diet has something going for it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I like this theory that the thinner one gets, the stronger the hatred for the fat becomes. I like that.
There was nothing more motivating than fat people hate, that Reddit subreddit from like that. That was my Reddit usage after fat people hate was destroyed, went down calamitously.
Really?
Because it was like my two that I liked going to the most was hockey and fat people hate, because you just pop on over into fat people hate, and if you were considering a burrito that night or a treat, you would look and read the comments and see the vitriol and the hate that everyday people out there just like you think when they see a big fat person, and you just go, you know what, nope, I want to be on the smug team. Like, I'm going to be with these guys. I'm one of the in crowd. Like, and of course, it's not healthy, probably. Or actually, it probably is healthy because you're not.
I rationalized I was like, you know what? All right, I'm not as thin as I once was. But no, it was, how am I doing for my demo? Huh? For my demo amongst 44-year-olds,
pretty fucking good.
If you're watching this, I bet I'm hotter than your dad. Right? Like, yeah.
That's true. You can compare yourself to other 44-year, like the state of people in their mid-40s in this country is grim.
It's abysmal. That's my demo. That's my peer group, baby. And amongst my peers, I'm like top 10%.
Top 5.
I was gonna say that, but I was being modest.
Top 5, buddy.
I thought it.
Let somebody else say top 5. You start out top 10. Oh,
yeah.
And then they bring out the top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5. Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely.
You're just one horrific accident away from a great dating scene.
Oh, John, I laughed and didn't even process it. I was like, yeah. Oh, wait.
One sort of Marvel Comics forming moment, and there you are.
Wow.
Tinder man.
Yeah, Tinderman. Just long, skinny fingers raking right. Yeah.
But yeah, I look much better than I did, and not as good as I want to. So that's a thing.
I think that's where we're all at, and we're all marching the path towards betterment. So that's good.
I've been working out on the kettlebells hard enough that now sometimes I don't want to say dread it, but yeah, there are times when it's just like, yeah, it's kettlebell day. This is gonna hurt.
The mace. I saw those and I saw Rogan talking about the mace, and that looked pretty cool. I'm gonna add that to the kettlebells. Yeah, like a mace. It's like it's a steel thing with a heavier thing on the end.
Like
spikes.
What do you do with it?
Well, it's for working out. They're like twisting them around and doing like kettlebell style workouts, but you're rotating them and keeping them stabilized.
It's for prematurely wearing out your rotator cuff. Try it. You'll love it.
Well, he suggested that they were good for strengthening all the stuff between your joints and stuff. He was like, if you're on a machine, you're just doing this one thing, but you're never strengthening the connective tissues. And he made the case of the opposite, that like doing that and like stabilizing it and doing over your head and doing all these weird positions was strengthening all the connective tissues and creating.
I think it's funny when they try and
more about working out than I do. What were you saying, Taylor?
Oh, I'm on this website, Steel Mace Training, where they're talking about how you train with a steel mace. And I like when they take these archaic methods and they try and impose like modern science and saying like, originally developed by the ancient Persian warrior elite, the Gada, heavy mace in quotes, style of training was directly applicable to real world combat and wrestling applications. And then it goes on to like real science and shit. And it's like, no, it was people in Persia thousands of years ago didn't know how to make much, so they made a heavy ball on the end of something, and it was like, if the other goat people come and try and attack after working out, we give them a whack. It's like, that's a good idea, buddy. Like, you wouldn't be like, and when you're training with these steel mace ancient Persian techniques, be sure to go by the ancient Persian dirty water and honey diet. That's what you want. You want nothing but...
was bullshit. My swim coach told us what his swim practices were like. They would just practice racing. They know what the fuck to do. They're like, all right, you race the 400, so... Well, you just go back and forth 8 laps really hard, take a breath, and then keep doing that, and eventually you'll get better at that. Like, that's how there was no, like, real training. There was no, like, focus and, technique, nothing. They just practiced racing all the time. That's 60s workouts. Now it's way more. I'm probably going to date what now is, but even by the 90s, it was way better than the 60s. And our times were better. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know if we circle back to the Trump thing is interesting. I'm really hoping that this special counsel completely answers the questions, right? Like, okay, I hated the TV show Lost because they left these clues, these things over the course of 6 years. It was like, well, Walter has special powers. This number is really significant. The fat guy, this whole thing exists in his head. There's a panda on the island. There's this, there's dragons, there's smoke monsters, there's whatever. And then you get to the very end and you're like, wait, what? He didn't answer. I hope that, is his name Mueller? When he comes out, he's going to put out, and it needs to be written in an interesting way, like a novel that's 60 pages that like answers all the questions Rachel Maddow has asked over the last 12 months.
Preferably a graphic novel. I'd like some illustrations in there.
Kyle, this is the kind of out-of-box thinking that has made PKA so successful.
Thank you.
This is what we need to invest in. Right after the Bear Boar candle market, we're going to go right into graphic novels, and we don't even have to wait until all the details are out. It'll be just like Making a Murderer, how they make fun of that in It's Always Sunny, where they're like, you're going to string it on for 10 episodes? Well, of course we're going to string it on for 10 episodes. We don't give answers. We don't give what people want. We don't give them, results. We just imply things. Imply. like that. Like, that's what we do. We just write like a big story arc of graphic novels. That would sell well.
Did you read the 9/11?
Would sell well.
What was it called? The 9/11 report, I think it might have just been called that.
The 9/11 Commission report.
Yeah. Did you guys read that? Dude, it was good reading. It was legit good reading. Like, it starts off with, like, 6:55 a.m. 19 people get on board in a Boston airport and manage to infiltrate it's like, holy shit, this is like a crime novel. And you read it all the way through. It was interesting reading. And you really got to see, like, a lot of who knew what, when, and how it went down, but mostly, like, the mechanics of what happened on that day.
Well, don't spoil the ending. I'm gonna read it now.
Okay.
Is that one of those, like, because you probably know what I mean, where you read something about history? Something I remember, like, specifically is the letter about that Albert Fish, this serial killer, wrote. Do you know who that is, Woody?
Mm-mm.
So Albert Fish was one of the most notorious, horrible, child-murdering serial killer psychopaths ever. And this dude would capture, kill, cook, and eat little children. And he has a letter out there on the internet, and it is a letter that he wrote to the mother and father of a little girl, of 2 little boys. Yeah, that there were 2. There was one, because he said the younger one had more tender flesh or some creepy shit.
Oh, I see where this is going now.
It was just a whole letter, and it was written in a way. It wasn't written like, I killed your baby and then I ate him up good. I fixed him. I poured him in a pot. It was like articulate. It was like, it was a Thursday afternoon. I decided to go out. After picking up the paper, I saw a nice young boy playing in the street. I decided to invite him back home. He was curious and very cute. Once we got in the house, I told him, like, here, Kyle, you can jump in with whatever you know, but it was, suffice to say, incredibly
it's real telling of the times that this happened in. The way that Albert procured the child is he went to this lady's house and was like, hey, see, you've got a small child out here on the walk. I have a small grandson the same age having a birthday party today. How about he comes with me and we go over to the party? And she's like, sure, take him. Yeah, all right. Bring him back before, I don't know, dark. whenever that happens. And so Albert is away with the child, and like days pass, and he consumes the child, and then he writes her this letter, and it's delivered to her. She can't read, luckily. Unfortunately, her other son can, and he reads it out loud to her. And it's basically a part of it is a bit of a cookbook. Yes.
How long is it?
All right, it's like two
paragraph.
paragraphs.
Two. The part about the PPs and the man.
All right. Dear Mrs. Budd, in 1894, a friend of mine shipped as a deckhand on the steamer Tacoma, Captain John Davis. They sailed from San Francisco to Hong Kong, China. On arriving there, he and two others went ashore and got drunk. When they returned, the boat was gone. At that time, there was a famine in China. Meat of any kind was from $1 to $3 a pound. So great was the suffering among the very poor that all children under 12 were sold for food in order to keep others from starving. A boy or girl under 14 was not safe in the street. You could go to just about any shop and ask for a steak, chops, or stew meat. Part of the naked body of a boy or girl would be brought out and just what you wanted cut from it. A boy or girl's behind, which is the sweetest part of the body and sold as a veal cutlet, brought the highest price. John said that there so long he acquired a taste for human flesh. On his return to New York, he stole two boys, one 7 and one 11, took them to his home, stripped them, naked, tied them in the closet, then burned everything they had on. Several times every day and night he spanked them, tortured them to make their meat good and tender. First he killed the 11-year-old boy because he had the fattest ass and, of course, the most meat on it. Every part of his body was cooked and eaten except the head, bones, and guts. He was roasted in the oven, all of his ass, boiled, broiled, fried, and stewed. The little boy was next, went the same way. At that time, I was living at 409 East 100th Street, right side. He told me how good little human flesh was when I made up my mind to taste it. On Sunday, June the 3rd, 1928, I called you at 406 West 15th Street, bought you a pot cheese, strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat in my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her. On the pretense of taking her to a party, you said yes, she could go. I took her to an empty house in Westchester I'd already picked out. When I got there, I told her to remain outside. She picked wildflowers. I went upstairs and stripped all my clothes off. I knew if I did not get her blood on, I did not want her blood to get on them. When all was ready, I went to the window and called her. Then I hid in the closet until she was in the room. When she saw me all naked, she began to cry and tried to run down the stairs. I grabbed her and she said she would tell her mama. First, I stripped her naked. How she did kick, bite, and scratch. I choked her to death and then cut her into small pieces so I could take my meat to my rooms, cook it, and eat it. How sweet and tender her little ass was roasted in the oven. It took me 9 days to eat her entire body. I did not fuck her, though. I could have, had I wished. She died a virgin. That's the end of the letter.
Wow.
That is more evil than the most fucked up horror movie writer in the world has to read something like that and be like, "Oh man,
this guy's good."
this guy's the winner of this contest. That is so fucked up.
Now, I got a little... At first, I thought the girl's parents were the same as the boy's parents, but they were different.
Yeah.
It was different. He was telling about how he first tasted human flesh in the late 1800s and how he decided he loved it so much he just had to do it again.
Christ. It must taste amazing, eh? Maybe that's it. Maybe this guy's stone cold sane, but human flesh is just delicious. I had some lamb chops a couple days ago. I'd never had them before. I just hadn't. They were so good. I think I prefer it to beef now. Maybe it's like that. Maybe he tasted human child ass and he was like, "Oh, how can I go back to pork?"
I'm glad this guy got the electric chair.
That
must have been issues like this are when I have to rethink about the death penalty, because I don't like the death penalty because stuff can go wrong. But you read about stuff like this and a dude who wrote a letter like that, and if you ask him, Mr. Fish, did you write this letter? He's like, "Oh yes, I think it was my best work, other than her, upper thigh cutlet, souffle or whatever the fuck he was
making." Aside from my recipes, this is as good as I do.
Didn't Albert Fish, wasn't he also inserting all those push pins into his groin area? And when I say groin, sometimes on TV they'll say groin and they mean genitals. I mean his entire groin area. He's pushing push pins in, and they're all embedded in his groin area in an X-ray.
Yeah, it was about that time that Fish began to indulge in self-harm. He would embed needles into his groin and abdomen. After his arrest, X-rays revealed that Fish had at least 29 needles lodged in his pelvic region. He also hit himself repeatedly with a nail-studded paddle and inserted wool doused with lighter fluid into his anus and set it alight.
What?
I should. I mean,
You
this
think
is not a
Batman's
healthy
afraid
man.
of the electric chair?
Yeah.
He's like, you're not even gonna stuff lighter kerosene soaked wool up my ass?
Do you think that's what it was like? They're like, Mr. Fish, we sentence you to death. Oh, are you gonna stuff me full of steel wool and light me on fire? Jesus Christ, no! No, what are you talking about? No, we're gonna electrocute. What the fuck? Jesus! Like I said, Judge is sitting there with his fucking hat all flustered. Oh, his wig. I guess
When
we probably
was
should.
this?
Fuck.
So this
well,
was
I don't want to say what we were planning now.
Early
That doesn't
1900s.
seem very intense. We definitely weren't just gonna electrocute you to death. Right? That wasn't the plan. We were gonna put needles in your genitals until you die. Two steps ahead, Judge, Your Honor. Yeah.
My only issue with the death penalty is that sometimes they mess it up. And that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the biggest.
Oh, and a lot of people say that it's more expensive, which I believe. Like, no one seems to say no, it's not. But I do feel like we could make it. I mean,
The
can't we streamline
that
this?
makes it more expensive is bullshit. That's the problem. It's not that the death penalty is inherently flawed. The idea of killing someone as a punishment or as like the final solution to their ruined self-being isn't necessarily a bad thing or a problem. I think it's how we as imperfect beings implement that system. It's the innocent people who get killed. It's the guilty people who don't get a quick death. They're they asphyxiate or they're tortured, or with the lethal injection, I think sometimes they're lying there like completely unable to scream but in tons of pain. Like, we really don't know what's going on.
The way they do it in westerns, the old movies, that seems cost effective. Like, I bet it's cheaper to do it that way than it is to keep them in cells. It is,
because there's no litigation to deal with.
They try. Those trials go on sometimes for a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes hours at a time, before everyone involved is too drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Hang 'em High is all about. Clint Eastwood is falsely hung at the beginning of the movie, and then he spends the rest of the movie, he gets deputized, and then he goes and gets all the men who falsely hung him.
That sounds like a good
how did he
movie.
survive
I'll
his
check that
hanging?
out.
I don't remember if someone rescued him or whatever, but the whole movie he's got this awful scar from where the rope was. He did survive it somehow or another. I think like the limb breaks or he like wiggles out or someone saves him. I don't recall.
The people that hung him or hanged him, I think hanged is actually right.
Hanged,
The people that hanged him, were they incompetent or bad?
They were on the lookout for someone who had actually like stolen some cattle, and they came upon Clint Eastwood out in the wilderness and said, this must be the guy. And then like there's two ways of hanging someone. Like every time you see them in the town when they're up on that platform with the trap door, like there's a precise amount of rope that they use based on your weight to calculate breaking your neck without tearing your head off. And a lot of times what they'll do instead, you see, is people just get strangled, which is a long, excruciating death. And that's when you just put the rope around someone's neck and then just suspend them slowly so that you don't get that quick snap of the neck. And then they can last, like, depending on how strong you are, how thick your neck is, all that stuff, you can last a long time.
Kyle, you've been strangled, and I know I have a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
There's a panicking, completely out of control of your own existence kind of moment that's like claustrophobia a little bit. And there's some pain, but it's not the sort of, it's not a sharp pain. It's a dull squeezing pain.
The big issue I've had with strangled, which is not an issue in execution, is for some reason when I come back, I'm embarrassed. Like, it bothers me that everyone else knows what just happened and I have some sort of memory loss. There's a span of time, even if it's just 15 seconds, where everyone knows something happened. Like, something interesting happened. The man was unconscious. They all know about it, and I have no recollection of it. And being at that disadvantage made me really uncomfortable every time.
I always enjoy it. It's like I from panic attacks, I've fallen unconscious many times. So it's like I'm pretty accustomed to what it feels like to lose and then regain consciousness, I guess. And I've bumped my noggin a couple times too, doing silly stuff. So so whenever I'm coming out of them, it's like, oh, this is cool. Oh, that was cool. Where was I? How long? Because you can't tell. It's not like if you take a nap, you can often tell. Oh, that was only like a 45-minute nap. My eyes still burn. But like with this, you're like, was that 3 seconds or was that 3 minutes? Were you guys Like, did you give me CPR because it didn't work right? Like, what just happened here? Like, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
I saw a cop hold a choke too long, kill a guy the other day.
Really?
Yeah,
I
held
read
it maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe.
a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner got into a fight with a guy. It was at a drive-thru, and the other guy was drunk, so he was being an ass and like honking and stuff. So they came out to came out to confront him because the honker was clearly overreacting. He put him in a guillotine, and he'd probably done it a bunch of times before. The guy passes out, comes to, but something to do with choking out a drunk is more dangerous. And he didn't.
Their brain's like restart button might be a little rusty when you're drunk.
Could be. I don't think.
His was.
I don't think
clearly.
those are actually things.
yeah. Your brain's restart button.
Oh.
It's in the back. It's a little red thing.
And it's made of metal.
You gotta use a pin.
Oh, right. And it was
like
rusty.
a router.
Yeah, just like a router. Man, I don't
I'm
know.
looking up famous executioners. What a job that must have been back in the day. I'm reading about this guy here who was the executioner for 500, or I guess the less famous Bugatti, Giovanni Bugatti. He didn't make the fun car. He conducted over 500 papal executions, meaning that he beheaded over 500 people who had offended somehow the papacy.
Damn.
Which
the
means
Catholic
they didn't
Church,
deserve it. The Pope. Yeah, so the Pope.
Which I would guarantee like only 10% deserved it, right? Because like maybe they offended the papacy by raping a child, or no, that they would like that. What would actually offend them that we would?
Well, what they would hate more than anything, then I would think, would be blasphemy.
Jews.
So anything that you're preaching, if you preach against the whatever religion, Catholicism at the time, then they'd kill you. Probably.
This is good for a segue. And I know we've only got like 5 minutes here, or something like that. We're near it. I have been watching this thing called Castlevania on Netflix. It's a 4-episode animated thing based on the video game that I never played, but it gets right into the story right away, and I really dug it. There's gore, there's like blood and guts, and not just adult men like the women, but the women and the children, like everyone. Everyone gets ripped apart. Basically, the story is that it's like 1450 the year is, and Vlad Dracula is a thing. But he's retired from his old impaling ways. Now he just lives in his castle with advanced technology and a solitary sort of lifestyle. And a woman comes to him from her ignorant city, and she's like, I want to learn to be a doctor. I want to learn to use real science. And he's like intrigued because he's like, maybe I'll just drink from you. And she's like, you're rude. You haven't even offered to take my coat. And he's like, kind of taken aback by this woman's style. And he's like, I think I like you. And long story short, they get married. The townspeople, a.k.a. the Catholic Church, decide she's a witch and burn her. And so Dracula's like crying tears of blood and turning into a big pillar of fire and coming back as a demon head on the pyre. And he's like, you have 1 year. And I will come back and destroy all of you for burning my wife. And they're all like, bullshit. And it's like, what are you talking about? You just saw it happen. And so a year goes by. For real. A year goes by, and it's the cardinal gets wheeled out, right? They bring him out on one of those altars and put him down in front of everybody. He's like, a year ago, Satan came to us. You all saw him. He said, be prepared. I'll be back in a year and going to kill you all. And look at us here. This is our greatest celebration. Satan is a deceiver and a liar. And right about that time, the fucking sky turns dark and Dracula shows up. And he's like, you're all still here? I gave you a fucking year to run for your lives. I spent that whole year summoning a hell army. I get back. And you're celebrating the day you burned my wife. I've had it. and he turns loose this army.
Is this like the opening, or have you told the whole story?
This is like the first episode. This is like the first half of the first episode.
On the morning of the anniversary, that's a 365 days later party. You got to be sure.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're wrong, then
you don't want to be like
you said. He's just
been a year. You want to be like, so it's been a year. We can breathe now. Like,
it's been a year. He said he didn't say a year and a day. He said a year. So we're good. Like that.
So
that's a pretty interesting premise.
Yeah, he releases this hell army on the city, and as it's ripping through these like beasts with wings and fangs and claws, they're tearing babies apart. And there's a part where you see like a baby in its jaws as it's like running away, like eating the baby, and just big swaths of people get clawed apart and guts go everywhere. It's a real dark time. And then of course there's a hero to come in and try to help with all this. But honestly, I'm on Dracula's side.
Have you watched The Young Pope yet?
No, but I saw it on HBO. See, I've been catching up with Game of Thrones. I
watched season 6 of Game of Thrones. I actually saw that, but Young Pope's not. It didn't move quick enough for me in the first episode or two. I need a media consumption professional like you to tell me if it's good or not.
I actually did watch Young Pope the first, I think, 2, maybe 3 episodes, and it also didn't pull me in. Like, it wasn't that I disliked it; it was just it wasn't as interesting as I thought. There's something about a show about the Pope where if there's fucking cell phones and cars and it's modern day society and you're the Pope, like, I'm sorry, but even though you're still a powerful dude, you're not a fucking percent of a tenth as powerful as the Pope 400 years ago. Yeah. I want to look at the Pope from the year 800. You know, when it was, well, there's the King of England, there's the King of France, and there's the Pope, the 3 most powerful people on the planet. Like, there's more at stake. I don't want to watch the up-and-comer Pope. Like, yeah, we're going to claw back, like, 2% of what we used to be able to do.
If we were at the ocean's edge and we were worried it was too rough, I would understand if you sent me in to go check it out, right? That's something that this is where we need Kyle. Right, Kyle?
I'm not a huge Jude Law fan.
Kyle can get 5 I had no idea it was a modern Pope. Thing. Yeah.
See, I don't like that. You know what turns me off to Sherlock? I was always heard about this Sherlock Holmes show on the show on the BBC, and the Cumberbatch guy. And I was like, yeah, I like that guy. I guess I'm gonna finally get into Sherlock. I like the idea of Sherlock Holmes and Watson and all that good stuff. It's modern day. They're fucking driving around in cars and shit. I had no idea. As soon as I saw there was no fucking pipe and silly hats, I just noped right out of that shit.
Who needs Sherlock when you can just Google shit?
Yeah, I've seen CSI.
I've Siri.
Seen CSI.
I've got a bit of an intuition about this murder scene. Well, don't fucking touch anything, Sherlock, because forensics is coming and they'll tell you. No, I don't need that. I think I've got this in the bag. Wipe that blood up. No, I'm not fucking touching it, you maniac. Like, we're not going on hunches. Put your magnifying glass away.
Watson already fell in it.
Yes, he's like, he's doing that like detective hand behind him, magnifying glass. It's like, dust, as I suspected, you know?
Feel a slight breeze coming from this crack in the floor. Yes, Sherlock, that's the AC system. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus, it's not always a secret wall, you cunt.
What is this devilry? It's the exit sign. It's the exit sign.
Yeah.
Of course.
But Sherlock isn't from...
Of course not.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I was like, if they literally took some guy from I don't know, Columbus time and brought him
that would be a better show. That would be, if you time warped old-timey Sherlock Holmes from like industrial era or whatever into modern day, and then that was the thing that like...
He'd be a comedy. He'd be a laughingstock.
No, at first he would, and then every step of the way, you'd write in a way that his old-timey techniques trump the new techniques. They'd be like, he used bleach all over this. There's no DNA anywhere. And he's like, ha! My good man, don't you smell that acetone? Clearly, we're dealing with the fingernail lady.
That's what I would like. Like, I would want to see a show where they bring back someone who was, like, brilliant in the year 1200, and then they just get, beat the fuck out by someone
like high
just
school
with
kids.
A phone here, where he comes into the future and he's like, finally, I can make headway into my research. Tell me, what have you discovered of many humors in the body? They're like, humors? What do you mean? Viscera, blood, gore, the confines of your mind controlled by these humors, yes? No. No. It's way more complicated. Oh my God, dude, are you serious? He's like, my whole life's work is nothing?
Come here, child. Let me rub your head to determine if you have any illness.
Well, at least tell me the upcoming events of phrenology. which is the discovery of the head,
Yeah.
so they could like
I
look at
thought that would
basically
be
a
a good
black
gift.
person and be like, oh, clearly inferior, they look different,
Yeah, I thought that would be a good gift for you one time. I saw one of those phrenology heads. It's like a human-sized head made of glass or something, and it's got all the zones drawn out and descripted and everything.
If they discovered my skeleton in like the year 1890, I'd have my own Wikipedia page for
They'd be like,
have your own fucking beast.
Clearly, the Homo sapiens have
I'm
mated with the
cosmic
Cro-Magnons. You can tell
would be
by
like-
the skull.
all of the creationists would be like, well, then you explain to me the late 17th century Merca man. You explain that to me. You explain the size of that head. You find me one human being on this planet that had that size. The Lord clearly made us special. Think that kind of, I don't know why that's funny to me.
All right.
I wonder.
I'm excited about the Trump story. I know I brought it up like twice now. I wonder, is it going to go anywhere? Probably not. It never does.
We'll
Never
see.
does.
Yeah,
And then I know I've dismissed the whole idea that the Trumps, I'm extending that to the junior now, are playing 3D chess. But he tweeted out what seemed to be incriminating emails. He's like, hey, I have no secrets. These are the emails. And it's like, his claim is that because he didn't get any good info that he's innocent, right? Like, I can just imagine the conversation with my wife. I think Trevor Noah did this. Honey, the reason I met that woman at the hotel is she said she would fuck me. But turns out she wouldn't. So why are you mad? Right? That is the defense that they're pulling. And it'll probably work. It always does.
Yeah, it's different legally. We'll see if there's stuff there I want it uncovered.
Yeah,
I
I
really
literally don't know.
like this whole fucking Trump clan.
I saw two lawyers on TV today argue about whether taking a meeting with her for like nefarious information about Hillary Clinton is soliciting that information or not, because I guess that's against the law. And they're like, he wasn't soliciting it; it was offered. And they're like, well, he took the meeting. That's soliciting. I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyway, super interesting day.
Yep.
Yep. All right, PKN
Check out Castlevania. You'll like it.
on Netflix. You say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 4 episodes. Only 4 episodes. It's like 2 hours of total content.
Oh, dude, I rewatched season 6 of Game of Thrones. It was good, and there were
Of course,
things I forgot.
I'm halfway through it right now, and I'm digging it. Yeah.
I was like I don't know. There were some significant deaths that I forgot. Walter Frey. I forgot they killed Walter Frey. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how, right? And then Arya's like, they're here. They're in the like. Who did he feed to Walter Frey?
His sons.
Yep.
Yeah, he
Black
fed him
Walter.
his son, and she's like, I want the last. I am Arya Stark. I want you to know that. I want you to know the last thing you will know, the last thing you will see is a Stark shoving a knife through your heart, and then she does it, and it was just
I'm
like,
coming up on that episode. Like I just watched the episode where like Arya gets stabbed and falls in the water or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an amazing fucking show, man. Like it's full of those incredible like moments that'll give you goosebumps or whatever. Like the Khaleesi rides in on a dragon and she's like, every other call before has asked for 3 blood riders. Not me though. You're all my blood riders. He's like I'm gonna ask more of you than any other call asked before. You get in the wooden ships and cross the salt sea. They're all like, fuck yeah! Will you kill the men in the iron suits? Yeah! Will you tear down their stone houses as no call has done before? And they're all like, fuck yeah! She's like, all right, let's go! And like, there's like 250,000 of them over there.
It was
the
exciting.
storm that is the Khaleesi. I can't wait to see that like land, right? Like I want them to get out and be like, all right, we're fucking here. Let's find some people to kill.
For some reason, the Sons of the Harpy were this big problem that they couldn't deal with them, even though they had 8,000 Unsullied and the Brotherhood.
They had the
maybe? I
masks.
forget.
They were underground. Guerrilla resistance.
Exactly. They were terrorists, right? They're very tricky.
Terror.
But they're out there like killing people, and then like 250,000 Dothraki screamers come in on their horses, and it's like, yes, like now she has the Dothraki behind her again, and
Like all of them in existence, it seems like, because that's what they were doing at Vase Dothrak. They were having like the big quarterly meeting, right? Like everybody's coming in from the outside branches. The international crew came in from Essos.
I didn't realize there were so many calls early in Game of Thrones, like season 1 or something. I thought he led the Dothrakis. I didn't realize there were a dozen of him.
Well, you were right and wrong, because like he was the greatest of the calls, and he had united all the calls to go do one thing, right?
Okay.
But normally I think they're like, they're traveling warlords with their own bands, varying in power, like war chiefs.
So he was an extra good call.
Because clearly, like when the Khaleesi was like, I'm Khal Drogo's, she's like, I'm the breaker of chains and the mother of dragons and the queen of Meereen, and also I was married to Khal Drogo, and they're like, you were married to Khal Drogo? Oh shit, we're so sorry. No man can touch a Khal's widow.
Yeah, they changed their mind about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later on when they all meet,
shit.
They're like, we're all going to fuck you, and then our blood riders will fuck you, and if there's anything left of you, we'll toss you to the rest. And
the horses get you then.
And she's like, no, nobody will fucking me, and then she starts burning shit. It was really good. Yeah, the horses, you're right. They said if there's anything left, the horses get in on it.
Yeah.
And
they've seen bad dragons.
And they were only 2 buckets of water from the whole plan going tits up. Someone has started a fire in the corner of our hut. Put it out. Ooglug. Back to business. That's exactly what happened as fucking naked Daenerys stood out there shivering. Where's my warm fire for me to jump into?
If you watch that scene again, I don't know why. Like, it's like a tiki torch or something, bigger than that. But let's call it a tiki torch for my purposes. They knock it over, and all of a sudden, it's a 70s flamethrower from Vietnam.
Oh, well, it's full of oil. It's a big basin of oil. It's 2 big basins of oil that must be holding like 3 gallons each. So it's like she pushes like 6 gallons of burning oil, and it splatters all over everything.
And it comes back up. It kind of defies gravity a touch.
It's reminiscent of me to that. In Austin Powers, that scene where the guy is in the cement roller or whatever, and he's going straight towards that dude who's like 50 yards from him, and the guy's like, no! And eventually, after a minute, it gets to him and crushes him. That's what I imagine it being like in that hut, where it's like, how do we get out of this fiery hut? We cannot use our swords to cut through the leafy walls.
No swords. There's no swords. See, that's the thing. No weapons in Vase Dothrak.
Well, he said
everybody's
that.
unarmed.
We cannot use our big muscles and these wooden chairs to bash us. If you give me my hands and you put me in one of those Japanese houses with paper walls, I'll make a fucking mess of the place.
The explorer came and locked the door for her. She told him to.
Yeah, but it's like, if I get, it's
the
like
only point you can stand on here is that
tent.
place burnt down like it was made of kindling. Like it was like you got to have it one way or another. Either that place is so sturdy that these men just can't get their way out, or it's so tinderbox light that it goes up like that and it burns down instantly. It's one or the other. But realistically, they should have either been able to get out or like stomp that fire out. I think the 3 of us would have beat that girl to death, and then put that fire out with her body. Like it had been all good.
Like Gur Martin in interviews has said she is not fireproof. That was a one-time event. I guess so.
But he's lying.
And we're like, but wait a minute, what about the super hot water that like the other people didn't like, but she was cool with? Or what about that time she touched like the ring of a fire? I think that happened early on.
Yeah, she's the whole way through in the show, at least, she's been fire resistant, and it just makes sense that she's gonna have a fire breathing dragon. Like I don't care what Martin said. Like I've always ignored that because of the hot bath and everything that stemmed from it.
Yeah, there's just been so many signs that she's full-on fireproof anytime she needs to be.
And we certainly saw it this time.
Yeah.
That time. Burned down in the building. She grabs, that's a moment in its own regard. She grabs that urn of oil that's burning, and the side of it should have been hundreds of degrees. Like one of those things where you touch it and you're like, fuck. And she's like, so I'll lead them. And they're all like, what? She's just touching that? Wait. And then she shoves them over. So I liked that moment, and I hated it at the same time. That moment would have worked so much better. It would have worked so much better if she dumped the oil directly on the men. If the oil had immediately ignited the men, then I'm 100% on board.
Or something?
like there's down below. You know, she kind
They
of
were on like bleachers, if I
ascends-
recall.
Yeah, she ascends to a higher thing. Like I'm talking about redesigning the whole set. All I'm saying is that like it was a little unbelievable that whole place burnt down and all of those men perished before they could get out, or any of their hundreds of thousands of cohorts could save them. You know,
it's not like there's a lot of stuff hiding the fact that place was going up like a tinderbox. Like everyone would immediately know,
right
like,
in the
hey,
middle of town.
who burned this place? Oh, it's the girl covered in oil. Everyone, it's
Well,
that one. It's,
that would have been cool.
They killed the lookouts.
They did do that. What if she had soaked herself in the oil and she was just a flame, like fighting them, like Johnny Flame in the Fantastic Four?
I love this idea.
And every time
like
they
the
tried to
idea.
combat her, they would ignite.
Yeah,
I like
they
that
hit her
idea.
and then they have third-degree burns.
It's just as stupid as what happened. I don't know. I don't like the unrealistic. That sounds so stupid to say unrealistic parts of Game of Thrones, but you know what I mean. There's plausible,
unrealistic within the universe. Because how many times have we seen some physically weak character get fucking reality smacked right into him right away? Oh, you thought you were the good righteous character? Well, I'm the big strong character, and that trumps that 1,000% of the time. Smack like. And this was one of those moments where we're like, oh, so the pretty girl wins just because, eh? Okay.
There's another moment they got a kind of heat for it with the damn sand snakes, right? Yeah,
that's the lowest rated episode of all time. You can watch the IMDb like episode by episode thing, and that one is the only one that fell below a 7. I want to say on their aggregate score thingy.
Well, it's because if you've read the books and then you watch that episode, like the whole thing you're thinking when you're watching Game of Thrones anyway is like, oh. Come on, like get back to Tyrion, get back to Arya. Like let me see what's going on with Jon. Like you're wishing almost the whole series away for the next, ledge of the storyline. And when you spend 40 minutes on these bitches with nothing to do with the story itself,
you could have given
oh my
that
god,
time.
you didn't just waste 40 minutes. The opportunity cost of those 40 minutes you wasted is infinite. Because you could have done anything with those 40 minutes that actually pushed the story forward instead of just making up shit characters because people complained there weren't enough women in it. And that's the reason why they did that, is because they wanted to put more female characters in it. It's like, well, let me ask you this. Do you think that women out there are so stupid who like this show that they watch female characters like that and they're like, haha, that's what I like. This is what I enjoy in this show. It's
and
like,
the
no,
worst
women
part,
enjoy character development like men do. They want to watch interesting characters. It's not and these were not interesting. They were shit. They took
and
up time.
worst of all is that you're putting those 3 silly characters in comparison with characters like Brienne and all the other Cersei and Arya and all of the other women in the show. Every woman in the show is a badass. Like Sansa has had. I mean, you can say she's been a victim, but like it's just the lot
she's the least
pulled.
badass. I think of Arya when I think badass in the series.
Arya is a fucking like triple black belt assassin, like faceless man, little girl who's gonna be always underestimated, but will gouge her eyeballs out. Like super terrifying. But so you don't need these like titty girls with like Ninja Turtle weapons.
Sansa's growing a backbone, so there's that. I just watched her recently, seek the dogs on Ramsay.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, so
Sansa's calculating.
I hope Sansa is about to be the next Littlefinger, she fails me, but that's what I'm still hoping for.
Yeah, that's Ramsay's death was all brought on by himself, really, with the dogs.
Starving the dogs.
Where it was like, you know what? If Ramsay had just fed those dogs instead of being a psychopath, then he would have been locked in that cage, and she would have left, and the dogs wouldn't have eaten him, and he would have lived. But because he's a psychopath,
the ropes, Fido. Remember me? Lovely Ramsay, your favorite. And he'd be like, yeah, boss, I remember.
Yeah, boss, I remember.
Oh, I remember. You let me eat them bitches. Let's go. Yeah, we can wrap. Yeah, good show.
All right. PKN 152.